Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of the participants joining today's webinar. Thank you very much for your participation and welcome to the Climate and Clean Air Coalition's webinar on addressing agricultural sector open burning, results and lessons learned from the CCAC no-burn alternative demonstration projects in Peru and in India. I am Catalina Echeverry. I coordinate the CCAC Agriculture Initiative at the Coalition Secretariat, and I'm very pleased to have everyone here today. Just a very brief overview of the CCAC. We are a coalition of 120 plus partners representing governments, intergovernmental organizations, experts from the scientific community, as well as civil society, all working towards the same commitment, which is to improve air quality and to protect the climate by taking actions to reduce short-lived climate pollutants across high-emitting sectors. These include, the pollutants include black carbon, methane, hydrofluorocarbons, tropospheric ozone, and methane, I think I've already said. Our agricultural work targets reducing methane from the livestock sector, including enteric methane, as well as from manure management, and rice production. We are also addressing black carbon through agricultural burning, which is the focus of this webinar, especially near sensitive areas of the world, such as the Arctic and other cryosphere areas. We are also looking at alternative sustainable uses of crop residue, a new area of work focused in India right now, linking it to both energy security and efficient cooling. This is an overview of today's agenda. We have some excellent speakers that have been invited today, including Pam Pearson, the director of the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative, and also the co-chair to the Agriculture Initiative. We have Dr. Harjit Singh Dhaliwal from the Punjab Agriculture and Management Training Institute, which has collaborated with us on the project in Punjab. We have today a slight change in the agenda where we have Mr. Odon Sinarayan from CARE Peru, providing a farmer's perspective to conservation agriculture. Manuel Rojas luckily is able to join momentarily to give a short testimony, but given the quarantine in Peru, he wasn't able to join with Odon. Jessica McCarty is also joining from Miami University, Ohio. Some logistics, the webinar duration is for 1 hour. Speakers will be given a chance to give their presentations over the first 28 minutes, and then we will have 30 minutes for questions and answers. Please note that everyone is muted by default. If you have a question, please write them in the chat box. After all presentations, I will select some participants from the chat box and if there's time, unmute them to ask their questions directly. If there are too many questions and there's no time left, we are sure to record your questions and we'll respond in writing. Finally, this webinar is being recorded, so if you would like to listen afterwards, there's plenty of opportunities, and we would also like for you to disseminate it more broadly. I will turn now to our first speaker, Pam Pearson from the International Cryosphere Climate Initiative.
Okay, thank you so much, Catalina. I'm looking to share my screen.
I have just invited you to share your screen.
Okay. Forgive me, Catalina, it's showing that I'm waiting to view Asmao Jibril's screen.
Okay. Okay, let me try once more. If not, I will manage it on my end. Apologies for that. Okay. Let me present it on my, here you go. Have you received it?
Yes, here we go.
Right.
All right, hello everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to maximize this, and at that point I don't think you're going to see me, but the screen is the most important. I'm going to minimize here as well. And this is going to be a very quick gallop, I would say, through open burning writ large. Sorry, I'm just trying to maximize the window. Okay, here we go. And you'll probably have questions as I go through these, but the other presenters are going to address those. So if you have other questions that aren't addressed by the subsequent presentations, please move ahead. But my point is to give an overview of what this is and what some of the main means to address it have emerged over the past 10 to 11 years, really, that ICCI has been working on this. And probably this slide is the most important. Definitions are incredibly important when talking about open burning. It's use of fire for any purpose in the agroforestry sector. So burning of crop stubble, which is the one that often gets the most attention, but it's also used to clear weeds and parasites in fields or in orchards. Clearing of land for cultivation, either reclamation, first use, slash and burn agriculture. Pastures are burned because they're thought to renew grass. Understory is often cleared either prior to lumber harvest or to encourage the growth of the primary trees. What it does not include are prescribed burns on true wildlands or emergency fire prevention, and that's important as well. It's also important that this is defined not only as the open burning and set fires themselves, but wildfires that spread from the original fire. So when we talk about open burning, we're talking about the source of the fire, not the lands that are being burned. So you might have wildlands that are burning, but if that fire actually originated in the agricultural sector, that by the definition that the CCAC uses is also open agricultural burning. So it's the fire source, not the lands on which it's occurring. And the impacts are great. One of the greatest that receives a lot of attention, but not always in connection again with ag burning, are wildfire spread from set agricultural fires, because they compound all of the other impacts that I'm talking about, especially in a drier climate, by multiple orders of magnitude. It's loss of forestry and pasture land resources, biodiversity, because often you have agricultural lands abutting preserved lands. There's infrastructure loss and damage, loss of life from accidents associated with the fires, including simply traffic accidents because of smoke, but of course also by firefighters. It's also important to note that wildfires, especially forest wildfires, get extremely hot. That means that the pollution is injected higher into the atmosphere and the spread is much greater. Health impacts, there's been a growing understanding of this, mostly in relation to wildfires, that it actually is a primary source of air pollution, even though it's seasonal in nature. There have been documented higher mortality from respiratory or cardiac illness, especially among the young and elderly, higher morbidity, in other words, illness, including long after the fire. And it also occurs in cities, although the smoke is closest, of course, to those who are in rural areas where these fires are set. Climate, lots of impacts. These fires emit CO2, and it's a net loss because the soil also is burning, in addition to methane, CO, black carbon. And again, when wildfires spread from ag fires are taken into account, it's the largest single source of VC globally. And I'm going to just show some quick slides to give a sense of how much this can spread. This is from 2006, when burning began in Western Russia and Ukraine very late in the season. And you'll see here the smoke from that fire in this animation going up and over first Faroe Scandinavia. But as this spreads, it goes all the way up to the landmass you see in the upper part of the screen, which is Svalbard. And a later part of this fire in early May actually then goes down and over Eastern and Central Europe, affecting air quality there. So it really can spread. This is the spread there. And to give you a sense of Svalbard, this is Longyearbyen, which is known as one of the cleanest places on Earth. And this station is there precisely because it's so clean. And this is what that looked like after the smoke had hit. So it was smog levels that were on a par with what you would see in a major city. So this air pollution can spread. But the most important, and what we actually work primarily with, are the impacts on the farmers, because burning, in contrast to what is widely thought, it lowers crop yields because it damages the fertility of the soil. It leads to higher fertilizer use, greater erosion, greater water pollution from field runoff. And because of these impacts on fertilizer, not burning is actually to the advantage of the farmers as well. And that is some of the knowledge that we're trying to spread. I'm going to skip over this next slide, but you can also see climate impacts in methane release. And these are a couple of links to some postings by the CCAC recently. But there are combined benefits. And so this is the good news that you're going to be hearing in the next two presentations. Low-till and especially no-till conservation agriculture can really aid adaptation because it holds moisture during drought. It holds the soil during extreme rains. And so it actually both helps during extreme weather events on both sides of the coin, whether it's extremely wet or extremely dry. It gives more reliable yields in our changing climate, and there's exciting research in terms of negative emissions and carbon drawdown. Some of this was outlined in the recent IPCC special report on lands. And there is some controversy in the scientific community about the degree to which you can draw down carbon on agricultural lands. But if you're talking about burned lands where there's a net loss already, there's no controversy at all. So the CCAC's Ag Initiative report that you're going to be hearing from the next speakers always begins with mapping a fire so that we're focusing on the most important sources, outreach to farmers to find out why they're burning, demonstration projects to show alternatives to burning that particular crop in that particular environment. This is very location specific, and we have also brought in international expert involvement. Jessica will be talking about the better monitoring technology we have right now that makes it actually remarkably easy, even though it's not foolproof, to be able to know where fires are occurring, and for financing purposes also to be able to monitor and prove that farmers are not burning in exchange for assistance. And there are lots of low-cost alternatives that you will hear about that I've mentioned, and pretty much to all kinds of burning, I would say. There may be some crops where fire is necessary to use, but they are very much the exception rather than the rule. So these alternatives support SDG goals. It's important not to demonize the farmer, and change can come quickly. And you'll hear about some of that change now. Some of the new messages by the CCAC are these health impacts, the importance to yields and fertilizer use, erosion, and soils as a carbon sink. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Dhaliwal, and hope you can take back the screen or tell me what I need to do, please, Catalina, to turn it back.
Thank you very much, Pam. I am now opening up the presentation for Dr. Dhaliwal. So welcome, Dr. Dhaliwal, and thank you for joining.
I welcome you all. The title of the presentation and its benefits comes from the demonstration project in Punjab. First slide, it pertains to the about the project. PAMETI UNP project, it was fully by CCAC UNEP, it was supported by ICCI, and it was carried out from November 2017 to November 2019. The title of the project was CCAC to reduce SLCP, and in this project, next slide please. The next slide is a brief outline of the project. Under this project, two sites were selected. One was Amritsar and the other was Singapore. And 3 wells in each site was selected. And a happy cedar, moldboard flow, then Stockholm spread, it was provided to all the villages, and a project staff comprised of 2 project fellows and 4 demonstrators were engaged in these villages. And almost more than 10 interventions were carried out in all the villages, ranging from farmer awareness camps, then demonstration, field days. And after every intervention, we distributed the relevant literature to the farmers. Then the third slide is background of the issue. And in this case, I can just apprise you that 3 million hectare area under rice is under summer season in Punjab, and 3.5 million hectare area wheat in winter season. In case of rice, almost 21 million ton straw is produced. In case of wheat, 20 million ton of wheat straw is produced. So it is a huge quantum. It is very difficult to manage it, and that's why apparently the farmers, they consider it burning the process as a very cheap, easy, and quick. While it is not, it has been proved, and we have submitted, we have a paper in our book. All these notions, which are apparently seems to the farmer that it is easy, quick, and cheap. It is not there, and the effects. Very easily has also narrated the effects of burning. The burning, it affects the soil health, human health, animal health. It degrades environments, it erodes biodiversity, and it also hinders the track, it reduces the vehicle movement, and many times when there is the invisibility, there are accidents too. And the next slide is why farmers burn the crop residue. When the paddy is harvested, farmers, they are to sow the wheat, and the window period is very short, only for 20 days. And there is a lack of awareness among the farmers, and there is also a lack of requisite machinery at certain times at certain places. And even where there is a machinery available, many times full knowledge and skill is also not available to the farmer. There are some other hidden factors also, which I will, if time permitted, discuss you with later on. And the alternatives to combat open agriculture burning, there are 2 alternatives mainly. One is in situ management, and other is ex situ management. In case of in situ management, the straw is plowed back into the field, and there are 2 ways to incorporate it. Either it is incorporated into the field, or it is placed on the surface of the surface as a mulch. The second alternative is the ex situ. In this case, first the straw is harvested, gathered, collected, and then it is used more than 8-9 purposes, which I mentioned in the slide. And there are, in the next slide, I have given the snapshots of training and demonstrations which have been conducted by PAMETI. Then the number of demonstrations. Total number of trainings were conducted by PAMETI, 11 trainings, which were on the campus, and 39 were off the campus, and more than 1,500 farmers and the extension functionaries of different departments were trained by PAMETI. Here comes the benefits of using herbicide. I have mentioned almost 15 benefits. These are the major benefits from the use of herbicide. However, there are some more benefits also which are emerging from the use of a herbicide machine. Even we didn't think at that time when we were developing this machine, and we were finding out the fine tuning of this technology for more adoption, that these much of benefits will be coming from this machine. The lesson learned from first of all, the felicitation of the farmer, especially offering those farmers who are adopting the CCAC. And when the farmers, they see that the results of the fellow in the field of the fellow farmers, they see by performing, by inspiring, the farmers to change their mindset through continuous training and through continuous teaching.
Apologies, Dr. Dhaliwal. Apologies, your connection is very weak. I would like to confirm what slide you are on, so I am on the correct one.
I am on the lessons learned from the project.
Is that slide number 9?
It's slide number 11.
Okay. Thank you.
Slide,
Thank you. I will.
Slide number 10 of the benefits. No, next.
Thank you. I am on slide number 10, number of trainings and demonstrations. I will now go to slide number 11. Thank
you. Next slide. Sorry. This is okay. Before this, please, there is one slide that pertains to lessons learned from the project. Before this slide. Learning from project. Learning from the.
Yes, thank you very much. It's there.
Learning from the project. It is there. Yeah, learning from the. It is there. We have already covered that felicitation of the farmers, especially only the farmers who carried out the CR mandate activity. It boosts the farmers to follow more and more such activity. Then when the farmer they see the results of the in the fellow farmers field, they get convinced. And the farmer, we have to change the mindset of the farmers also through regular interaction and through regular training. We have to inform them, educate them, motivate them, inspire them that they should change their mindset, that this burning is not a good phenomenon. Then whenever there is a new machine, new technology, we must train the farmers. We should apprise the farmer about the modern agronomic practices. Similarly, whenever there is a new machine, equipment, or implement related to this conservation of agriculture, we should regularly update the knowledge and skill of the farmers in line to the use of those machines. Then, if right in the village, supporting and hand-holding of the farmers is carried out, it proves really very better. Next slide is about the area managed in the adopted villages. Average use of herbicide in the year 2017-18, it was 169 per herbicide, and in the year 2018-19, it was 145. You will be astonished to know that why it has been declined little bit. The potential use is 150 acre per season per herbicide, because our guys, our staff, they motivated, they inspired the farmers to purchase their machinery individual or to start their custom hiring centers. So by the next second year, most of the farmers have purchased machines, implements, equipment, and even almost in all the villages there were 2+ custom hiring centers for CA machinery. Next is special highlights of the project, which is the last slide. And the project helped to reduce the open burning by 90% in the adopted villages. And you will be happy to know that 2 villages of Marsaraji and Koewali, the village panchayats of these villages were honored by the state government for keeping their for presenting their villages as no burn model villages. And the percentage of area burnt in villages of Sangrur was also well below the state average. Then with PAMETI, with the help of the international agency, successfully demonstrated the scalability of the model of combating open agriculture burning. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dhaliwal, Dr. Dhaliwal, for your presentation.
Welcome.
We will now be presenting a presentation from Odon Silarayan from CARE Peru. Please note that his presentation will be delivered in Spanish, but we have the slides available in English. Odon, please, bienvenido a la sesión. Puede comenzar. Indíqueme, por favor, cuándo cambiar del slide, por favor. Gracias.
Okay. Buenos días con todos, acá en el Perú. Bueno, voy a alcanzar las conclusiones y algunas lecciones aprendidas acá en el Perú con las prácticas de la agricultura de conservación que hemos desarrollado, ¿no? Cambiamos. Sigamos cambiando. Ok. Bueno, las prácticas que hemos desarrollado acá en el Perú están ubicadas en dos regiones. Perú está dividido en 24 regiones y estamos en 2 regiones. Uno de ellos en Junín, en Huancayo, que estamos a esta altura de 3.350 metros sobre el nivel del mar. Y y con una precipitación pluvial anual más o menos de 800 milímetros por año, ¿no? Las lluvias en Junín es desde octubre hasta abril y con el sistema de irrigación casi al 90% de todos los terrenos son irrigables, ¿no? Y los principales productos que siembran es maíz, arveja, haba, quinoa, esos productos, ¿no? Y en Huancavelica, que está un poco más arriba, con una altitud de 3.392. Aquí la lluvia es un poco más fuerte, está a 8.800 milímetros por año, y la lluvia también es un poco tardío, ¿no? Noviembre a abril. Todos los suelos son secanos, no están irrigables, todo este secano, y los principales cultivos es maíz, arveja, haba, quinoa, trigo, ¿no? Entonces, esas son las características donde hemos trabajado. Seguimos, Catalina. Bueno, antes del proyecto, lo que teníamos las prácticas aquí en el Perú, sobre todo acá en la zona de intervención. Las parcelas eran siempre quemadas los rastrojos, después de la cosecha se limpiaba todo, se juntaba todo el rastrojo, toda la paja que el resto de la cosecha y se quemaba, ¿no? Y luego se preparaba el suelo con tractor, 1, 2 veces, cruzada y todo, ¿no? Entonces eso se movía demasiado el suelo. Y luego cuando las plantas están en desarrollo, sobre todo el maíz, es cultivado hasta 2 veces, ¿no? Un primer aporque donde se acumula la tierra y luego hay un segundo aporque, con la finalidad de que había esa tendencia de pensar de que el maíz, si no lo haces esto, se iba a tumbar, se iba a caer, ¿no? Entonces, con esa tendencia, la remoción del suelo era fuerte, el maltrato del suelo era demasiado, ¿no? Seguimos, Bueno, acá los efectos de esta agricultura realmente eran catastróficas, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en el tema en la mano de obra nomás, nosotros cuando sacamos, hay bastante uso de mano de obra, ¿no? Por ejemplo, acá en cultivo de maíz, en la agricultura de conservación es mucho menos que la agricultura tradicional. Por eso hay una diferencia de casi de 32%, ¿no? Más mano de obra. Y igual en la arveja es menos, pero de todos modos hay una diferencia inmensa, ¿no? Y otro efecto es que, sobre todo en Huancayo, como los terrenos son de riego, se aperturan los surcos y todos los riegos, cada vez que riegan, van arrastrando el suelo fértil. Entonces cada vez va quedando ya apareciendo las piedras. Y hay un testimonio de algunos agricultores, dicen, ¿no?, que en su chacra está apareciendo más piedra. ¿Por qué? Porque cada vez que van regando, va limpiándose, ¿no? Y tenemos un reporte a nivel nacional, reportado por INRENA, casi el 65% de los suelos de la sierra del Perú son erosionados, ¿no? Y luego la quema que se practica con mucha frecuencia aquí en la agricultura tradicional. Seguimos, Catalina. Acá, en la actualidad, ya después, cuando el proyecto vino, trabajamos con el proyecto, ¿no? Entonces ahí hay varios indicios, ¿no? En este caso hay ahorro de dinero para evitar el laboreo del suelo, hay menos frecuencia de riego, entonces como hay cobertura del suelo, ya los riegos han bajado. Había testimonios de los agricultores regaban cada 7 días, ¿no? Entonces ahora riegan cada 10, 15 días, 12 días, entonces hay se mantiene la humedad en esta agricultura de conservación porque hay cobertura, ¿no? Se genera la cobertura del suelo. También un gran resultado que hemos obtenido, que más adelante lo vamos a ver, es que hemos reducido la quema de los restos de la cosecha, ¿no? Bastante, ¿no? Aquí, por ejemplo, la mano de obra, cómo representa en el costo total de la producción. Por ejemplo, en maíz hay un ahorro, hay una inversión de 32% por mano de obra, porque hay más mano de obra, ¿no? En el aporte, en todo eso. Y en arveja, en cultivo de arveja, hay un 15%. Más adelante lo vamos a ver. Seguimos, Catalina. Bueno, el uso de herramientas en esta siembra, en esta práctica que hemos aplicado en nuestra región, ambas regiones, Junín y Huancavelica, ha sido con uso de yuntas, ¿no? Dos yuntas y una pequeña picada del suelo, y ahí se siembra y se tapa, ¿no? Habían otros también, a mano nada más, sin yunta, con pico. También abrir un pequeño surco para colocar semilla y fertilizantes, ¿no? Hemos tenido también uso de maquinarias, sembradoras a tractor. Por ejemplo, esta maquinaria está ubicada en Huancavelica, que ha sido adquirido por un agricultor ya después de esta práctica que ha trabajado, ¿no? O sea, por su propia iniciativa, por su propia experiencia, ha adquirido. También hemos usado las sembradoras manuales, ¿no? Y tenemos también la sembradora a tracción animal y la sembradora a tracción mecánica que hemos adquirido en el proyecto, ¿no? Entonces, los agricultores han ingeniado de cómo sembrar sin mover el suelo. O sea, todos los agricultores con quienes hemos trabajado han entendido de que efectivamente no hay que mover el suelo. Entonces, acá, por ejemplo, vemos de que están haciendo un hueco nada más y ahí están colocando la semilla de sus fertilizantes. Seguimos, ¿Cómo los agricultores recibieron la transferencia tecnológica de la agricultura de esto, ¿no? Hemos tenido, han recibido capacitaciones sobre el manejo de cobertura del suelo, sobre los sistemas de siembra, manejo de hierbas, fertilización, riego de campos, o sea, todos esos eventos de capacitación, asistencia técnica se ha brindado, ¿no? También ha habido viajes de pasantía a otras regiones que existen en el Perú. Hay una experiencia de un agricultor en la costa del Perú, que es por Lima, Cañete, a donde hemos visitado para poder aprender su experiencia que él tiene manejando ya casi 7 años sus parcelas, ¿no? Entonces ahí hemos aprendido, le hemos llevado a agricultores y ellos han vuelto muy motivados y ellos son los que están empezando esta práctica en sus propios terrenos, ¿no? Seguimos. Cambiamos acá. Bueno, en conclusiones, ¿no? Se han reducido las quemas agrícolas en la comunidad. Mira, en las 2 campañas que hemos trabajado, o en los 2 años, en el primer año, más o menos de los 32 agricultores, 18 seguían quemando en el primer año, a pesar que han recibido capacitación, le hemos indicado que no era bueno quemar todo. Sin embargo, había más de la mitad que seguían quemando. Pero en el segundo año ya se revirtió las cosas, ¿no? O sea, en el segundo año efectivamente las familias dijeron no. ¿Y cómo ha reducido significativamente en el segundo año de que solamente de los 32 agricultores, solo 9 todavía han practicado así escondidas, a veces mientras no estamos permanente en su campo, ellos lo han quemado, ¿no? Entonces, ahí está todavía, que seguramente más adelante podríamos con estos agricultores llegar a cero, ¿no? Pero sin embargo todavía hay, ¿no? Entonces, eso es un poco que en nuestra zona que todavía están practicando. Entonces, finalmente diríamos casi, representa con la población que hemos trabajado, con los agricultores con quienes hemos trabajado y hemos transferido la tecnología, casi el 71.8% de productores ya no queman, ¿no? Solamente una parte es lo que están todavía persistiendo a este trabajo que no es bueno, ¿no? Seguimos.
Gracias, Odón. ¿Será que Manuel puede unirse en este momento?
Sí, Manuel.
Sí,
¿Nos puedes comentar sobre eso? ¿Cómo van las actividades? ¿Cómo lo notas tu experiencia? Cuéntanos, estamos escuchando.
Bueno, mira, yo para empezar esto de la agricultura de conservación también era un poco complicado, ¿no? Porque cambiar la idea de todo un tiempo de llevar una agricultura tradicional y poco a poco sí se pudo, ¿no? Pudimos empezar a comprender que era beneficioso para nuestros campos y también, ¿por qué no?, para toda la población, porque al ritmo que estamos viendo, los terrenos ya se está viendo ya la erosión de los terrenos, el empobrecimiento, mayor cantidad de plagas, problemas. Entonces, con esta agricultura de conservación, estamos viendo que ya estamos evitando un poco la erosión del terreno, porque al quedar el rastrojo, ya se ve que en el momento de riego, por ejemplo, ya no vemos ese arrastre de la tierra cultivable, ¿no? Que antes se veía, porque ni bien se voltea la tierra y se siembra y se riega en la agricultura tradicional, se ve cómo el riego se lleva toda la tierra fina, ¿no? Y queda piedra en las cabeceras de los terrenos. Y ya con esta agricultura de tradición nos hemos dado cuenta de que está mejorando en ese aspecto. Después, en la forma de los incentivos, la capacitación, las prácticas que gracias a CARE hemos empezado nosotros a implementar esto en el campo, con los estímulos, con las ayudas que nos dan ellos, ¿no? En charlas, en ayudas técnicas, y se ha ido cambiando un poco esta idea, ¿no? Aunque al comienzo es muy difícil, como les comento, allá ya la gente nos trata de locos, ¿no? Porque ven que los terrenos no los movemos, no los cultivamos, entonces están diciendo ya estos son ociosos, no quieren trabajar, todavía no comprenden. Pero hay una parte de agricultores que ya viendo lo que estamos haciendo, están tratando de imitar, ¿no? Ha habido ya varios siembras por ahí que han tratado de imitarnos, ¿no? Han sembrado y han dejado así nomás.
Manuel, ¿nos puedes comentar?
Ahora,
Manuel, ¿nos puedes hablar un poco
sí,
con respecto a los incrementos de los rendimientos? ¿Cómo lo has notado en tus choclos? ¿Hay más rendimiento? ¿Cómo está?
sí, en el momento del cultivo hemos visto de que la mazorca, por ejemplo, de maíz es un poquito más gruesa, tiene mejor grano, mejor presentación que la que hacíamos antes en la tradicional, ¿no? Solo que en mi experiencia, lo que yo he palpado es que al comienzo de instalar la siembra, debemos tener un poquito más de cuidado en el primer riego. O sea, para que las semillas tengan buena humedad y germinen parejo, ¿no? Quizás esta época que nosotros instalamos tuvimos ese problemita porque escaseaba el agua, ¿no? Entonces los encargados de regar lo regaron un poco ligero y tuvimos un poco de raleo en los surcos, ¿no? Pero después, como te comento, la producción sale muy bien, las mazorcas son mucho mejores que en la agricultura tradicional, ¿no?
Claro.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Manuel, por su participación. Lamentablemente tenemos corto tiempo, pero sería excelente si personas tienen más preguntas que podamos después comunicarnos con usted para aclarar algunos temas. Y Odón, no sé si quiere cerrar. Odón, if you would like to close the presentation here.
De repente
No
el
sé si
siguiente
quiere terminar.
lo podemos ver rapidito.
Gracias.
Bueno, ahí, cómo es que la familia ha sentido un incremento de sus ingresos también, ¿no? Hay mayor incremento en valor bruto de producción y valor de venta. Como dice Manolo, la calidad ha sido mucho mejor y los precios también han mejorado por la calidad, ¿no? Entonces, eso es lo que también hemos tenido. Ahí también hay resultados que hemos obtenido, por ejemplo, mayor cantidad de población microbiana en el suelo, ¿no? Sobre todo los lombrices. En el siguiente diapositiva está. Y en el primer año ha sido menos, en el siguiente año mucho más, ¿no? O sea, cada vez que no se mueve el suelo, cada vez que incremento cobertura, hemos encontrado mayor población de los lombrices en el suelo. Bueno, esos son los que hemos podido tener las conclusiones, y las lecciones aprendidas son pues que en la agricultura tradicional los suelos son bastante movidos y se lavan rápido, ¿no? Y la agricultura ha entendido de que en el suelo que no se labra, que no se mueve, efectivamente sus suelos están tranquilos y hay mayor producción, ¿no? Y igualmente han entendido de que el quemar es perjuicioso y tener más bien la cobertura del suelo es mucho más eficiente. Eso han captado, ¿no? Y la fertilización, con respecto a la fertilización también, ¿no? Como dijo Manolo, hay que tener cuidado en los primeros estadios de la planta, y ahí la agricultura va aumentando bastante, ¿no? Con muchos resultados. Asimismo, la mano de obra es mucho menos, y eso ayuda de que el agricultor inclusive piensa ya ampliar sus cultivos mayor cantidad, ¿no? También ellos han entendido de que la transferencia de la tecnología a los agricultores es importantísimo desarrollar todo esto. Entonces, eso fue la experiencia que hemos tenido, Catalina y todos los presentes. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Odon. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Odon. We will now move on to Jessica McCarthy's presentation, and I will share her screen. Thank you, Jessica. Please go ahead.
It says that Tatiana Semenova has, okay, here we go. I will show my screen. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's working well.
Perfect. We need time for questions, so I have the pretty pictures to show, but I want to thank Pam, Drs. Daliwa and Señores Zerrayan and Rojas for everything that they showed in these two projects. I had the honor of doing the satellite monitoring for both Peru and India, and so let me just go over some of the technology, both Earth observations that we used and some of the geospatial analytics. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do this in the first place is that many of our global fire emissions databases are derived from single sources of active fire products from satellites. So this is a very commonly used fire database, the Global Fire Emissions Database, and it has a lot of good qualities. When we initially scoped these projects, we looked at the Himalaya region and the Andes region, and we wanted to see how well these emissions for black carbon aligned with some of the validated work that we did. And so one of the things that you should note, is that on average, when we did our own calculations from multiple satellite fire product inputs, we were getting much more black carbon emissions. In fact, for just the month of November of open burning in Punjab, that was equivalent to total annual for India, Pakistan, and Nepal. So clearly, we wanted to refine these products and provide more detailed mapping so that we knew the who, when, what, where, and potentially how and why of open burning. So one of the products that we have developed is for in the Himalayan region and also in the Andean region is national level maps where we do monthly and even can do weekly and daily maps comparing different active fire products. These are from polar orbiting satellites. We also have some geostationary satellites from the Japanese Space Agency and from the US National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association as well. And what we really want to point out here is that VIRS, which is a more recently launched polar orbiter, it can detect between 6 to 12 times more open burning than MODIS. And MODIS is what is driving most of our global fire missions databases, that they are starting to catch up. We can take some of these fused products from both active fires and then also from moderate resolution and then very high resolution sources and do some analytics. So here is the state of Punjab, and what we wanted to show was spring fire density, which is associated with our wheat harvest and open burning wheat residue, and then fall fire density. And as you can see, they don't actually align. So the communities that are mainly doing burning around the wheat harvesting and the communities that are doing burning around the rice harvesting are not the same ones. And so this is important for intervention and then also validating our intervention processes. For example, we wanted to assess the success of our intervention. So here is the region of Junín. We're doing fire density based on some spatial statistics. But when we really zoom in to just the area of Chupaca, we can see that when the spatial stats are calculated across a region, it was showing a lot of burning there. But when we did it just for this small area, we can see that in fact, no, it's just a few small subregions of this area. To further provide more contextual data, we use as many satellite sources as we can. So here is Sentinel-2 from the European Space Agency, and we can see that besides just crop residue burning, and as Pam has mentioned, open burning is a lot of agroecological systems. This is rangeland burning, and this is a pre-burn just last July. And then 20 days later, a fairly large burn actually that was captured between kind of southwest by 17 kilometers of Huancayo. We would use as much open source data as possible. So this is just Google Earth. So this is Google Earth Pro. So we found here on Los Eros Avenida between Chupaca and Huancayo. This is from August of 2019, just examples of fields that are being burned. And if we zoom in, what we can see is actually how the burning is taking place. And so this is called a circle fire. And this is a type of burning where you set the fire and it burns to the middle. And it looks like they have piled a windrow or pile of residue in the middle and then set fire to that. And you can actually see the shadow from the smoke. And a lot of this information is out there, and what it takes is just a little bit of crowdsourcing. So I work a lot with students as research interns and graduate students and also research staff in order to just do as much large scale mapping as possible. And why do we bother? I mean, that's a question that I get a lot as someone who works with satellite data. Well, the main reason is that we need to work with experts and farmers, because on the ground knowledge is how we interpret our global to country scale emissions models. We can use higher resolution satellite data to verify who, what, when, and where, but we are only guided by this expertise that we have both in India and Peru that you saw today. One of the other things to keep in mind is that while we can calculate the black carbon emissions using similar fire products as some of our global fire emissions databases, when we do this at large scale, so say just for the state of Punjab or for all of India, if we really hone in on the communities where we've done intervention, we can show that we have decreased black carbon emissions for those intervention villages. And so what you see here is on the left, you have the control villages in Sanggur, and then on the right, you have the control villages, intervention villages in Amritsar. And we worked with Drs. Dhaliwal and PAMETI to come up with a way to think of how we could do buffers around these communities to figure out which fields might align with these communities. And this is actually a research direction and an applied direction we want to go to in the future to better understand the actual land allotment and who is burning and which communities they identify with. But one of the really interesting things is that our intervention villages by far have much fewer fires, even if we just look at a single month or a single week, than the villages where we did not do these interventions. And so, for example, using a commercial data set, this is Planet Labs. This is 3 meters to sub-meter data. This is Chata and Sangur. We note that we can see an actual active fire just due west of Chata. I'm kind of hanging over it here. We'll zoom in on that. Yes, and just a couple days later, we can see that it is actually verified as a burned area. So this is a village that we were not, that we did not target our intervention, and we're mapping on a monthly scale using very high resolution data, sub 5 meter data, that there are burned fields in and around this village. And we can actually map the smoke, which could move this application further into things like smoke trajectory, looking at the health impacts, and really linking open burning to the nexus of agriculture, health, and climate. And with that, I will turn this back over to Catalina so that we can have time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Jessica. We now have an opportunity to raise some questions, and I can do that through the chat box so that some will have the opportunity. We won't have time for all since we only have about 9 minutes, but the first one is directed to Dr. Dhaliwal. The question is from Anushri about the budget of the PAMETI CCAC project and if there was any significant changes observed after the government of India announced a central sector scheme, promotion of agriculture, mechanization for in situ management of crop residue. Would you like to respond to that, Dr. Dhaliwal? Dr. Dhaliwal, are you still connected?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Hello.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. You are talking about the budget of the project or the finances which were made available by the central government for the purchase of subsidized machinery for the state. Which budget you are referring to?
There are two parts to the question. One is what was the budget for the PAMETI project provided by the Climate and Clean Air Coalition? And also, was there any significant changes observed after the government of India announced a central sector scheme for the promotion of agriculture mechanization for in situ management of crop residue?
In terms of Indian rupees, it was almost 92 lakh, means 92 lakh. In terms of Indian rupees, INR, and in terms of dollar, it was, I think, $7,200, $1,000, $72,000. In terms of Indian rupees, surely it was $92 lakh, 92 lakh rupees.
Thank you. And would you like to respond to the second part?
The second part. This project was totally fully funded by CCAC UNEP, and the only kind contribution was by the PAMETI. However, the second part, which you are referring to, which the funds which were made available to different states by the central government, that is National Green Tribunal to the 4 states, that's Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and Western UP. It was 1195 crores. And out of this total amount, 690 crores, 1,000 crore were allocated to Punjab only for purchasing of the machinery and equipment meant for conservation of agriculture.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to another question here. I believe this is for you, Jessica. How does the CCAC fire monitoring data maps compare with the fire incidents observed by Punjab State Remote Sensing Agency, as well as the national remote sensing agencies like ISRO and CREAMS Laboratory? Was there difference in the data from the different agencies, or were they similar?
That is a really great question. So I would say that there's a lot of similarity because we're using very similar input products, particularly a lot of data being used from VIIRS, MODIS, Sentinel-2, and then also some of the JAXA geostationary data. The difference being that in this analysis, we really wanted to fine tune down to the communities. And so while a lot of work, as was noted by the question, has been done by other great labs, focused mainly on at the state level, we really wanted to focus down on the communities as well. So we would essentially a nested approach. So while there is a lot of similarity, the difference being that I really wanted to spend quite a bit of time quantifying burned area and not just active fire in and around our intervention villages that Dr. Dhaliwal worked at. And really did a lot of great handholding with the farmers, and I was very honored to go meet with them last fall. And the same in Peru, and my colleague at ICCI, Juliana Albertengo, who I think is online, she's done a wonderful job communicating with me and with CARE Peru, giving us context of who and where was burning. So a lot of these, just to sum it up, a lot of these places, we're using the same data, which is great. And we want to find similarity, right? That gives us some confidence in the mapping. But all satellites miss fires. And so that's why we want these regional and on the ground and in situ monitoring inputs, including inputs from the farmers themselves. And I do actually scan a lot of different social media accounts and APIs or web viz by other labs to see what they're coming up with, because I'm very interested in what they're mapping and maybe what I'm missing. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Jessica. We now only have time for one more that is directed to Odon Silarayan. All other questions I'll redirect to the panelists separately. Señor Odón, respecto a lo que menciona sobre la cobertura del suelo, es más efectiva que es más efectiva de la quema, ¿A la cobertura se refiere utilizar fertilizantes naturales, dígase los mismos residuos de cultivos anteriores? Y si no lo utilizan estos desechos para la misma agricultura, ¿cuál es su uso o gestión de esos residuos generados?
Sí, se refiere a que la cobertura lo dejan en el campo, ya no lo queman, ya no lo incendian. Entonces esto también a la vez sirve como un abono, como que también como cobertura del suelo, ¿no? Sin embargo, los agricultores adicionan, ¿no? Adicionan materia orgánica al suelo. ¿Me escuchan?
Gracias, Odón. Sí. Muchas gracias. Well, once again, to all participants, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining. If you have additional questions that you would like to raise with the panelists, please feel free to send them directly to my email, which is catalina.echeverry@un.org. My last name is spelled E-T-C-H-E-V-E-R-R-Y. Sorry, it might be a little bit difficult at this stage, but thank you very much. And I will send you my email through the chat box. It's been a pleasure. And we also invite you to visit the coalition website so you can download any of our resources, and we'd be happy as well to put you in touch with the panelists. So thank you once again, and thank you to the panelists for joining.
Thank you,
been a very
Catalina.
interesting
Thank you,
webinar.
everyone who joined.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Catalina. Thank you, Pam, and everyone.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias a ti. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
बस हो गया बंद 1 घंटे का पूरा 7:30 बंद
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਾ
करता
ਅਸਲ ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਲਿਆ ਉਦੋਂ
चल चंगा होया मैं तुम्हें की करना बड़े चाहते ने सी
ਨਹੀਂ ਜਵਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ